Tosidevai Priyai Hai Keshavashacha Vishnu Mati Prade Devi Sachavachai Namo Namaha Vrinai Hai Tosidevai Priyai Hai Keshavashacha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sacha Vachai Namo Namaha Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto all the devotees of the Lord, or desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for fallen conditioned souls. Namo Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Vancha Kalpataru Vacha Kripasanivaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanivaya Vaishnavivaya Namo. All right. Bugs. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopinana Manava Kirivardhari Gopijana Manava Kirivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Yamuna Tera Panachari Yamuna Tera Manachari Jai Bhurat Umadava Kunja Vihagare Joy Radham Vadhuva Kunja Vihagare Gopilana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopijana Malabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunate Ravanachanti Yamunate Ravanachanti Jayo Radhu Madhuva Kundavikagate Jai Hurad Humanava Kundavikagate Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya All Satada Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace by Chaitanya Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapana Shyam Kunda Radhagunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadada Sami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimad Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Shimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Dejatarni. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 33rd chapter, text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, whoops. What's that? We're just going to do the first 4 here. Rasotsava Sampravritto Gopi Mandala Mandata Yogeshwarena Krishnena Tasam Bhajye Dvayor Dvayaho Rasotsava Sampravritto Gopi Mandala Manditaha Yogeshwarena Krishnena Tasam Ajay Dvayor Dvayaho Rasotsava Sampravritto Gopi Mandala Manditaha Yogeshwarena Krishnena Tasam Ajay Dvayor Dvayaho Rasotsava sampravritto Gopi mandala manditaha Yogeshvarena Krishnena Tasamajye dvayor dvayaho. Okay. All right. So I'll just read the next part of the verse. Pravishtena grahitanam kante swanikatam striyaha yamanyera nabhastavad vimanashatta sankulam divaukasam sadaranam otsukya paritatmanam. Okay, repeat. Rasa of the rasa dance. Utsavaha, the festivity. Sampravrittaha, commenced. Gopi mandala, by the circle of gopis. Mandataha, decorated. Yoga, of mystic power. Ishvarena, by the supreme controller. Krishnena, Lord Krishna. Tasam, of them. Bhaje, within the mist. Dvayo, dvayoho, between each pair. Pravishtena, present. Grihitanam, who were held. Kante, by the necks. Nikatam, next to themselves. Striyaha, the women. Yam, whom. Manyeran, considered. Namaha, the sky. Tavat, at that time. Vimana, of airplanes. Shata, with hundreds. Sankulam, crowded. Diva, of the heavenly planets. Okasam, belonging to the inhabitants. Sa, accompanied. Dharanam, by their wives. Otsukya, by eagerness. Aparita, carried away. Atmanam, their minds. I think I can take the mask off except for when I lead kirtan, because that's when, so it'll be easier for me. Translation, wow, what a relief. The festive rasa dance, the first time I've given class in the temple without a mask for 2 years. The festive rasa dance commenced. With the gopis arrayed in a circle, Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the rasa dance, and they soon crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. So you can repeat. The festive rasa dance commenced with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the rasa dance. And they soon crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. So there's a purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vailva Thakur has written the following verse about the rasa dance. Anganam anganam antara madhavo madhavam chantarenanganaha itam akalpite mandale madhyaga sanjago venuna devaki nandanaha. Lord Madhava was situated between each pair of gopis, and a gopi was situated between each pair of his manifestations. And Sri Krishna, the son of Devaki, also appeared in the middle of the circle, playing upon his flute and singing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the gopis, maddened by love, were unable to understand that Sri Krishna had expanded himself so he could personally dance with each of them. Each gopi saw one manifestation of Krishna. The demigods and their wives, however, could see all his different manifestations as they watched the rasa dance from their airplanes, and thus they were completely astonished. So, Omagana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So I'm going to read some of the commentaries, and then if we have time, we're going to read from the Gopal Champu about the rasa dance, because there's some very interesting information in the Gopal Champu. And actually, I've done the narration of most of the Gopal Champu so far. I don't know if it's online yet. So this verse describes how Krishna, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, describes how Krishna mixed with the girls. This rasa gave nectar like bliss to the chataka birds of the devotees' eyes and minds, and thus it was called utsava or festival. This festival began in a perfectly arranged way, samyak, sam pravata, with the gopis standing in a circle with Krishna entering between each pair. One should not think that this verse means that the rasa krita was begun by Krishna, that he initiated the rasa dance. Krishna was not the doer. The Rasa Lila was the doer. Krishna gave the Rasa Lila the independence to begin the action. Krishna remained present as one of the ingredients of the festival. In this way, more than Krishna himself, more than all his energies, and more than all of his Leelas, the supreme position of the Rasa Utsava is proclaimed throughout the universe, and therefore Lakshmi and others became eager to participate, though they could not do so. So it's also important to understand that Krishna doesn't lose his ontological position as the supreme controller, but he gives the independence, utilizing his supreme control, he gives the independence to the rasa dance, and also in the same way he gives independence to bhakti. So it's not that bhakti and the rasa dance are ontologically independent, but they've been given that independence. Another point about independence, which comes to mind, is that the independence of the jiva, that Krishna gives us this independence because he wants us to devote ourselves to him voluntarily. I mean, oftentimes the devotees ask, actually there was even one devotee who said, I pray to Krishna to take away my independence. That means I pray to Krishna to kill me. Basically, just take away all my qualities as a soul and turn me into one of those Japanese robots. Well, not exactly Japanese. Yeah, but Japanese, because you go to Japan and you can actually check into a hotel and there's a robot concierge there who checks you in. And some of these robots, I was just reading the other day, nothing to do with class, but they actually put sometimes a dinosaur head on the robot. Anyone seen that before? And so, but we're not robots, and neither is the rasa dance robot, neither are any of the aspects of the Lord's paraphernalias or energies. They're first-class servants, yes, but they're not blind servants. Just like Prabhupada said about the disciple, disciples should not be a blind follower of the guru, nor ask questions that are actually not intelligent. So this is really important, that the Lord enjoys interacting with his various energies because he gives them independence. Because there would be no enjoyment if he didn't give them independence. You understand? No enjoyment, because the enjoyment comes when people have different personalities. You know, variety is the mother of enjoyment, as Prabhupada said. So this is actually an extremely important point. So anyway, so the Rasa Lila, the Rasa Utsava, Utsava means festival, of course, is independent. And just like, I mean, sometimes we can also experience something similar in this world. Let's say if we arrange a festival, like Janmashtami or something like that. And, you know, we arrange it, but then ultimately, oh my God, it gets out of hand. Isn't it? I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be so ecstatic. I mean, I didn't arrange for the ecstasy. So, in other words, you provided the ingredients, but it seems to have a life of its own, doesn't it? That's what I've seen with festivals. You know, generally at festivals, it's like that. Like we're going to have a Gaur Purnima festival. And you obviously we're going to buy the flowers, not we, but I'll pay for them ultimately. The temple president with her credit card will buy the flowers, and I will have an anxiety fit looking at the credit card bills. But anyway, so flowers will be bought, and the ingredients will be brought there, but the festival itself has a life of its own. And it's just like, wow. And you forget about all the costs of the flowers till the next day. So anyway, so I think it's, you know, something similar that we experience in this world where there's, you know, an occasion actually has a life of its own. And so Krishna is given, and as a person too, not only does it have a life of its own, but the Rasa Lila, the Rasa Utsava, is a person. That's really interesting. How all the Lord's different aspects of this paraphernalia, they're all personal. You know, whether it's shoes, I mean, of course, these are expansions of Balaram, but still, they're persons. The flute is a person. Every aspect of the spiritual energy is personal. That's so amazing, isn't it? You know, bhakti, and they're all given independence like that. But still, they're trying to please Krishna. Their independence is there, but they express their independence and their service to Krishna according to their own personality. And that's really attractive for me as far as going back to the spiritual world. It's not that, you know, just like you just sit there and someone gives you orders like the army, like the Russian army right now that doesn't want to attack the Ukrainians. It's not like that. You actually, each and every individual expresses themselves according to their individual nature. That's so cool. So we'll continue. How is Krishna positioned between the gopis? He entered between the gopis, embracing their necks on either side. From the statement in the 6th verse, that he was like a great emerald among all golden jewels, and the use of the word emerald in the singular form, and from the statements in the 3rd verse that existed between the two gopis, it should be understood that he did not just remain after entering between them. That is, having entered between them, he performed the Rasa Lila. Rather, from the central position, like the center of the lotus, he displayed quick movements from the center, moving between the two gopis and displaying his dancing. So this reflects what some of the other acharyas have said, that actually Krishna was within with each gopi because he moved so quickly. Some of the acharyas describe like that. That Krishna, like, of course, Gopal would like this, like the flash. Someone who moves so quickly that he appears to be between each gopis. And some of the acharyas describe like that. Moving between two gopis and displaying his dancing. In the flash of a second, he could come from the center to the circle of 300 koti gopis and dance between them, embracing them, and then return to the center again. This is really interesting. You think, how Krishna is expanding. In this particular instance, he's actually, that's not even a good description. It's just like 1 quadrillionth, quintillionth, billionth, whatever of a second, so fast you can't even see. We have experience of that, let's say in the TV screen, this is flashing at like 60 frames a second, actually 30 back and forth. But anyway, and it seems, when you watch a video, it seems to be a constant motion, but it's not. It's just, or like Prabhupada gave the example of a movie, because that particular time they didn't have electronic videos. They were different frames, and it appears like there's constant motion. So because things are happening so quicker. And then returning to the center again. His movement was quicker than a firebrand. And there's that example. Mother Urmila talked about that last night. When Lord Chaitanya actually acted as a coward boy, and he twirled this firebrand around, and it appeared like one circle, like that. And then actually when I was in Fiji, some of my disciples are actually Fiji natives, and they received me by twirling firebrands around. It was really cool. And they actually were dressed with all the native paraphernalia and the makeup on their faces. So, I said, is that them? So anyway, it was actually quite interesting. Because at that time, everyone could see Krishna standing in the center and also situated between the gopis. In this connection, Bilva Mangala has stated, Madhava was between each pair of gopis, and also each gopi was between two Madhavas. And Krishna began playing his flute from the central position. As the cause of this extraordinary event, Krishna is described as Yogeshvara, Mahavishnu, master of all methods, or means, since he is the ocean of all arts. Yoga can mean method, according to the Amarakosha dictionary. Or yoga can refer to Yogamaya, the great Shakti, which can do what seems impossible. The master of this Yogamaya is Krishna. Knowing that Krishna desires to embrace all the gopis simultaneously, Yogamaya manifested a Krishna for each gopi to solve this problem. Oh my God. So here you have Yogamaya manifesting a Krishna. It's gopis to solve it. This is so inconceivable. But of course, Yogamaya is also given her independence. She's an independent person. And because these different independent energies or personalities, I have to mention this, they're first-class servants. And this is mentioned, of course, that a first-class servant is one who knows the needs or desires of the master and acts accordingly. And a second-class servant gets told what to do. A third-class servant gets told, does it, but doesn't have a good mood. And a 10th-class servant, guess what? Doesn't do it. I don't know. Prabhupada talked about, he didn't mention a fourth or fifth. I guess it's just varieties. You know, you got some varieties between the two, but Prabhupada just talked about first class, third class, second class, third class, and 10th class. 10th class is really interesting. Whoops. There are two ways of understanding the phrase Krishna entered between each pair of gopis. The first understanding is that Krishna expanded his two forms on two sides of the gopis. The second understanding is that one Krishna entered between each pair of gopis. In the first explanation, each gopi would have Krishna on her shoulder, on each shoulder, which would be contradictory for her. But this should not be a worry because the great Yogamaya Shakti made each gopi aware that only one Krishna was touching her. There's no contradiction. In other words, if Krishna was touching her on both shoulders, she wouldn't think like that. You know, Yogamaya would just like have her think, it's just one Krishna. I mean, these things are all inconceivable. There's no contradiction, however, in the second explanation. Each of these women thought that Krishna was standing with her. Though this was certainly so, he could also be seen everywhere. That was one of his dancing arts. In the middle of the circle, the son of Devaki stood embraced by the queen of Vrindavan, Shri Radha. This is the intention of the Krishna Sata Nama Stotra saying, calling her the cause of the Rasa Krita Karanam. In other words, calling her, not her name, calling her. So, in other words, Srimati Radharani is the cause of the Rasa Lila. At that time, hundreds of devatas, such as Brahma, appeared in airplanes. They were eager to see the dancing part of the Rasa Lila, not the confidential part. You know, there were other things that went on, confidential exchanges. For being Dasha Bhaktas, they did not have the qualification, that's the adhikar, of course, for the other parts. That means that by the arrangement of Yogamaya, the males of Swarga and other abodes could see Krishna alone and not the gopis. You know, in other words, they could see Krishna with each and every gopi, and the gopis were thinking that Krishna was with each of them. So the males have no access to seeing the intimate aspect of Krishna's Rasa Lila. And of course, there's that story I often tell about how Lord Shiva, he became Gopishwar Mahadev, so he could guard the Rasa Lila, and Narada Muni became Naradi, so he could go in, but Krishna didn't dance with him. Krishna just said, you got to do some writing. You know, you don't stick around the Rasa Lila. So you got other service to do. You're not going to be one of my gopis. So anyway, Jiva Goswami's commentary. This is so interesting, actually. We may not even get to an end of the commentary. Rasa means a combination of the highest rasa. This is a joyous festival of special playing, utsava. The festival of rasa was excellently started, sampravritaha, by Krishna in the form of condensed bliss. This excellence is shown. It was decorated with the gopis in a circle which made them appear more beautiful. The details of the commencement are described by Parashara. Here's a quote from Parashara Muni. Rasamandala bandhopi Krishna parshvam anujhota gopijanena naivadbhut ekastana stiratmana astena griyat chaikayam gopinam rasamandale chakara tatparasparsha nimilitadrisham harihi tata pravritte rashas chalad valaya nishvanaha anuyata sharatkavya gaya gitir anukramat. The circle of the Ras did not keep him situated in one place, since the gopis could not give up being by Krishna's side. In the circle, he took the hand of each one of the gopis, who closed their eyes when he touched them. The rasa dance began, filled with the jingling of moving bangles, filled with songs, praising the present autumn season. Madhye dvayol means he was situated between gopis 2 by 2, rather than just situated with 2 gopis. This means that there was a gopi on either side. Verse 6 mentions that he was a sapphire among many jewels. That is a general description. Here it means that he was between 2 gopis with his arm on each of their necks, which we heard about before. Bilva Mangal Thakur has written the following verse about the rasa dance. Anganam anganam mantura madhavo madhavam madhavam chantare nangana itham kalpite mandale madjaga sangjagho venuna devaki nandana. We'd read that verse before, actually. Madhava was situated between each pair of gopis, and the gopi was situated between his pair of manifestations. And Krishna, the son of Devaki, also appeared in the middle of the circle, playing upon his flute and singing. And some more descriptions. Kramadipika says, Sudrasam ubayor patag antaragam. He was situated between 2 gopis. Thus, worship of a gopi and Krishna is prescribed rather than worship of Krishna and 2 gopis. This was the conduct of one qualified male among many women, 3 Shu, who desired his association simultaneously out of great anuraga. There would be fault if there was inequality. This would interrupt the happiness. Each thought he was with her alone. Very important. The following should be considered. Krishna began the rasa dance to give happiness to all of them. All the gopis, this is interesting, I just want to repeat that. Krishna began the rasa dance to give happiness to all of them. So Krishna's intention was not a selfish intention. You know, this is love on both sides. In other words, the gopis, they were dancing to give pleasure to Krishna, and Krishna was dancing to give pleasure to the gopis. So, you know, this is really a mutual exchange of love. Not that someone is thinking, you know, I really enjoy dancing, but he's thinking, I really want to give pleasure to the other. All the gopis could see the rasa as most magnificent. Therefore, his perception was proper. By some dancing skills, he appeared as many. He also used maya, otherwise the phrase, each saw him with her alone, would have been used. Thus each thought that he was alone with her. Though Krishna was on either side of her, the gopi could not discern this because she was overcome with unlimited bliss. Thus, the main reason they thought in this way previously and now was their bewilderment caused by bliss. Wow. Wow. In other words, anyway, that's pretty self-explanatory. That he appeared as one person on entering the rasa is solved in the following manner. He was Yogeshwara, the master of special, inconceivable, astonishing Shakti. This arose by his will alone, without ordering, since it is his innate Shakti. Like I said before, a first-class servant. Those who by their nature roam in the sky, demigods, gathered together on suddenly seeing the rasa dance. The sky became filled with airplanes, or they gave up the direction where the moon and rose above the moon into the open sky. The inhabitants of the sky refer to Brahma, Shiva, and others. This means there were no such festivals in Swarga or other planets. They became eager for the dancing part of the rasa, not the confidential pastime, since they were not qualified, as we heard before, being in dasha ras. They came for the dancing. The confidential pastimes were hidden from them by Yoga Maya. Very interesting commentaries. And now we're going to read a little bit, and I guess on Thursday when I give a class, I will also read a little bit more from the Gopal Champu about the rasa dance. Give me 1 second. So, Gopal Champu. This is the 26th chapter of the Gopal Champu. Rasa dance is listed. So, we're not going to start off from the beginning, but we'll start off text 4. The full moon of Krishna rising in the ocean of Braj intently and simultaneously honored all the women like chakora birds, spreading happiness through embraces and kisses. Very poetic. Surrounded by the riverbank, devoid of low and high ground, devoid of mud, grass, or kusha, he had them join hands in a circle in order to perform the rasa dance. They formed the circle. Love became full by Krishna's going to the bank of the Yamuna. By the bank of the river, his mind became full. By his full mind, his eyes became full. By his 2 eyes becoming full, all the women became fully satisfied. By all the women becoming satisfied, the festival became complete from beginning to end. What more can be said? Even today, the festival has not stopped. In the midst of the circle he had created, Krishna, attaining a great brilliance, began to think. As the moon shone above, the bank shone below. Though the moon had spots, the women on the bank are faultless. The women are like a necklace of gold mixed with pearls. If there's an emerald-centered jewel between each pair of women, this would be most attractive. That's Krishna, of course, the emerald. Bluish. If I enter between each pair, the arrangement will be perfect. This is what Krishna is thinking. It's really interesting. Here's the Lord's psychology. I want to make the arrangement perfect. So I'm going to enter into each pair. He's planning out in his mind what he's going to do. This is so cool. As he thought like this, his desire was fulfilled. He was between each gopi. He also did not know exactly how it happened. Here's someone who's omniscient, and he doesn't know how it happens. Because his potencies, he doesn't have to order them to do it. Like I mentioned before, they're first-class servants. They do it, but they don't tell Krishna the details. Well, I talked to the Parijata plant the other day and told the Parijata plant to give it the fragrance. No, they just do it. Krishna doesn't have to manage things. The bank appeared beautiful with Krishna and the doe-eyed gopis. By its reflections, the bank was like the moon itself. The bank was friends with the moon. The gopis were friends with the bank. The meeting with countless forms of Krishna was the friend of the gopis. The women were in the circle on either side of Krishna with interlocked hands. The ropes of their arms bound up Krishna's flawless back. He placed his arms on their shoulders at the beginning of the rasa dance. There were thousands upon thousands of alternately golden and black forms in a circle. It's really picturesque. And Krishna with Radha were in the center. Praising new youthfulness, Krishna began the rasa dance. Parashar has loudly proclaimed this. Youthfulness was made successful by the gopis' presence. This I've already described. Look, what more can I say? My hairs are standing on end. So here's the narrator, who's Jiva Goswami in this particular case. Though he has many lovers of various types, Radha is his life and others are her functionaries. Remember that in many cases, Jiva Goswami would talk about Swakiya Ras rather than Parikiya Ras. And in this particular case, it's Parikiya. By his limbs, he made Cupid subservient. Taking the women into the arena of pastimes, he began various amorous actions by moving his limbs to gain auspicious association with the young women. And this, of course, is stuff that the demigods didn't really perceive, because it was too intimate. The women in the midst of the sapphire forms of Krishna surpassed the effulgence of gold. Their eyes were wide. Their bangles jingled as they kept beat by moving their hands. They moved in various gaits, and their necklaces attracted Cupid. With lowered brows, endowed with forms of fresh beauty, performing pastimes revealing the excellence of clever dancing, they made sounds with the chains of their moving ankle bells, which reached the heavens and which broadcast the excellence of their dancing. So that's actually what caused the demigods to be aware of what was happening, the sounds of their ankle bells and their bracelets and everything like that. So I think we have to end now. Yes?
Don't some of the gopis have different color complexions?
Yes. Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, that's mentioned elsewhere.
It seems like it just said golden, but there's got to be a wide variety.
Yeah, there is a wide variety. Anyway, it's ecstatic. This is beyond my ability to understand. I'm just reading these things without any understanding or realization. All right. Jai Shri Shri Radhagolokananda, Radhagolokananda Ki Jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maravindalayataksam Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Bhako Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Kriya Vriti Manti Pasyanti Bhakti Kayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Maya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham
Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham. I need the chair for this. Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham. Tamaham Bhajami. Runa Purabhagi Vijamani Gauravani Jage Makatsa Samuha Loyala Sakte Kela Nagarabase Tatai Bajalako Gana Gana Tare Janjero Romo Gana Tare Janjero Romo Premi Dala Dala Sarana Ganga Charane Nubo Rabase Makuna Madama Sadava Puri Pole ne Polo Re Madana Pore Nicerida Vase Kero Hate Divace Sari Rasa Lila Manapateho Hayaki Koro Baba Nakeho Hebina Bachile Yashoda Sutta Jarame Bori Vela Jaya Tapana Bori Hasta Dina Kelo Bode Gasta Tabekeno Ebe Ala Sahoe Napazavero Yaranje Vananetja Janatsa Kahena Navina Pipada Bad Namachaya Korea Tanatumi Nakahapana Kaze Yana Sadhanakam Yakateya Se Maturanam Avidyate Marat Tapana Rupe Rikagane Virase Sana Namasyoda Korea Pan Juraya Bakat Tibayan Nagran Namamina Kichuna Ikimara Chona Bhuvana Namaje bhage Dvidamani Gauramani jage Bhakata Samoha Loina Sakte Gela Nagara Braje Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Hare Vishnupad, Paramahansa Paravidikacharya, also Tada Satashi, Shimad, His Divine Grace Sabaya Chalana, the Bhaktivedanta, Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Gijaya, Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Gijaya. Friends say, oh Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Gijaya Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopadan Shyam Kund Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Gijaya. Vrindavanam Gijaya, Maturadam Gijaya, Jagadasami Gijaya. Yumanamai Gijaya, Shrimati Lasadeva Gijaya, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Gijaya. Gaur, Premadanda, Hari Hari Bol. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premadanda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Buddhaleshna Padam. States us whatever name the ceases and everybody must study this learning. When the rising sun appeared in the east, the jewel, the twice born Lord Gauranga awakened. Gathering his devotees around him, he set out to preach in the countryside, towns, and villages. Tatai, tatai, sound of the mridanga drums, and the cymbals chimed in time. Lord Gaurasundar's shimmering golden features danced, and his ankle bells jingled. Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari chanted the devotees, their mouths filled with the vibrations. Calling out, they preached to those still sleeping. You spend the nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Although you've achieved a rare human birth, you do not care for this precious gift. Instead, you refrain from serving the darling of Yashoda and slowly fall through your last moments to death. With every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and is lost. Why then do you remain idle and not serve the Lord of the heart? This life is temporary and full of various miseries. Take shelter of the holy name as your only business. To penetrate the darkness of ignorance and bless everyone's heart, the sweet holy name has risen like the shining sun. Drink deeply the pure nectar of Krishna's holy name, which is the life and soul of Bhakti Vinod. The holy names aside, there's nothing to be had in all the 14 worlds. Jai Bhakti Vinod Thakur Jai. And please continue to pray for all the people in Ukraine and Russia who are suffering. Chandrika